A call to order the Lynchburg Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, July 13th, 2021. The first order of business is the approval of the June 9th, 2021 minutes. Are there any additions or corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve them as they're drafted.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
One abstention.
All right. The next order of business is the following new business. We are reviewing the petition of Margaret D. Gilliland to rezone approximately 1.55 acres located at 902 Old Grays Mill Road from R2 Low Medium Density Residential District to R3 Medium Density Residential District to allow the construction of 4 duplexes and an associated parking lot.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, members of Planning Commission. The purpose, as the Chair, Madam Vice Chair stated, is to allow the construction of 4 duplexes at this site for a total of 8 dwelling units with associated parking. The subject property was annexed into the city in 1976, and the R2 zoning was established in 1979 with the adoption of the Timberlake Road Study. The R2 zoning does not allow for duplexes. The subject property is proposed to be rezoned to R3, Medium Density Residential District. This district allows for smaller lot single household development and duplexes as desired by the petitioner. The city's comprehensive plan, future land use map, currently recommends low-density residential use for the property. Nearby land uses designated by the FLUME include low-density residential, medium-density residential, and institutional uses. Low-density residential areas are predominantly single-family detached housings at up to 4 dwelling units per acre. These areas also may include public or institutional uses that are compatible in scale. The property currently has an existing single-family residential structure. If approved, the existing structure would be demolished and the 4 duplexes would be constructed, and a 16-space parking lot would also be built. The proposed duplexes should have little impact on the surrounding neighborhood. The proposed use mirrors 4 existing duplexes across Old Graves Mill Road. Initially, planning staff did have some concerns about the parking lot, which was originally supposed to be in front of the duplexes, but due to a redesign necessitated by setbacks and access management standards, the concept plan was revised to the one that you see in your packet. The parking will be behind the duplexes, and access will be taken from the side street, which is Hillview Drive. The design will create a more cohesive neighborhood appearance from the street and a safer traffic configuration. The city's technical review committee saw the petition on June 15th and had no major comments of concerns, and planning staff does recommend approval of the petition.
Thank you. Who is here to speak on behalf of this petition?
Commissioners, thank you. My name is Russ Nixon with Nixon Land Surveying. I represent Mrs. Gilliland.
And if you'll sign in too, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mrs. Gilliland came to me last year about this project and wanted us to go ahead and look at a process of getting this rezoned. She's working with a realtor on marketing this property. Mrs. Gilliland is not planning on building this herself. She is going to sell it to a potential developer. She's talked to 2 or 3 developers at this point about doing exactly what you see on the proposed plan that I've shown you. Across the street, as Rachel said, there are duplexes currently fronting on Old Grays Mill Road in this area. Even to the south of this project, there are some more that are very similar to what I've done here with the parking lot, the way they have it. I wanted to do a single access parking lot like I show, mainly for safety and to cut down on traffic onto Old Grays Mill Road. Speaking with Lee Newland with engineering, we decided to shift our original entrance from Old Grays Mill Road to the Hillsville Drive entrance, as we show. We have proposed a concrete walk along the front of our property. There are no other concrete walks in that area, but we have to, by ordinance, build that and construct it with ADA compliance. We also have proposed our landscaping to meet the city ordinance for the buffering around the parking area and the buildings beside us in the R2 district. We are proposing to meet all environmental requirements, erosion sediment control, and technically, this is going to be a pretty decent little project. I think it's going to increase the value of the property for her. And to caveat some of this, I've actually had two other neighbors that join her, one to the north, the Reamers, Walter and Daphne Reamer, actually reached out to me about actually doing the same thing on their property and whether it's feasible, if I think it would work. And another client, potential client to the south actually called about doing the same thing. But anyway, if you have any questions or comments, I'll be glad to address them. Thank you.
Thank you. And will you please sign in? Thank you. So I don't think anybody else is here, but I'll ask, is there anybody else here that would like to speak in favor of this petition? Anybody opposed? So you might want to just stay up there at this point. The public hearing is closed, and I'll open it up to the commissioners for any questions.
Tom, I've got a question of you, and it's not going to affect my vote one way or another, but has there been any discussion of trying to widen that section of Old Grays Mill Road to, it seems like to me every time I'm there on the traffic gets worse and worse and worse. And I haven't heard of it.
I'm not aware of any.
I'm looking at it on Google Maps right now, and there's, oops, it just went away, a traffic jam right
Oh, right.
around that block, but it just went away, so.
Which is more reason that having the access off the side street works.
Yeah, no, I think that was a nice change.
When we originally designed it, there's already two curb cuts for access into her property. We were going to try to use those instead of someone having to build another. But after speaking with Lee, and I recognized it before anyway, that it would make more sense to come off of Hillview Drive.
But, and I know it doesn't pertain to this petition, so I don't want to confuse the matter, but you mentioned these adjoining landowners.
Yeah, to the north, above our landscape buffer that you see on there, they actually talked to me about it. I don't know that it will work on their property because of how their lot is not as deep as ours. So they're going to have a certain lot requirement size regardless. And I'm not too sure we'll be able to get, maybe we might be able to get two duplexes on it instead of one. And honestly, after you buy the home and go through the cost of demoing it, I don't know that it's worth it for them.
But those, they wouldn't have a street on the side. They would be going right out onto Grays Mill.
No, not necessarily, no, sir. Their driveway actually comes off of the other road
Oh,
north of
really?
this site.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another road up there.
They would not have to come off of Grays Mill Road either.
Okay.
And you said there were just two other people that approached you about converting theirs.
Yeah, yeah, the
And
person to the north on this site directly beside us about rezoning their piece and going through this. I had a pretty long conversation with them about what the ramifications are and realized that actually those folks that live to the north of us actually live in Florida. They rent their home out here and they only visit back here during the summertime and then go back. They're snowbirds and they go back to Florida during the winter.
So is that just 101 Lookout Drive and 103 or what?
I don't know the address of the property. It's Walter Reamer and Daphne Reamer is their names.
Okay.
Yeah, they're snowbirds. They've lived there for 32 years.
And where's the other house located? The other-
It's a lot further south. It's not in this picture. It's not in my drawing at all.
Okay.
So just to clarify, none of those are officially
No, none of
submitted
that's
or
been,
anything?
none of that
Yeah,
is
right.
even
And
thought
also
about,
that-
but I just wanted to
I don't
clarify.
want to confuse the picture, but
Right.
it is nice to sort of know what's going on.
Yeah.
I think that the lot size, with it being as big as it is, definitely, to have this type of project to be presented, I think the lot size is great. And if you look at the lots all around it, they seem like they're half the size. And so I like that. I like the fact that they're bringing the driveway onto Hillview. But I just, and this could be a complete moot point, but I'm curious if any of you guys have any issue with changing the zoning prior to her actually having somebody in line to do the project, right? It's really just, like, she's changing the zoning just in kind of foresight of what she would like to do, but doesn't necessarily have a developer lined up yet. And that could be totally a moot point. I'm just, is that,
More than likely, the developer's not going to buy it till the zoning's changed.
right?
Exactly.
You know, typically, we have, like, there's a contract on it, and
Right.
it's contingent upon
Sure,
the zoning
it could
being
be set up that
changed.
way.
So
Yep.
that, I mean, that's, since I've been doing this, it seems that that has been the,
That is
you know, kind of what usually happens, but if nobody, you know, I'm just bringing it up, if nobody has any other issues with that. I was just
But
curious.
when they start to develop plans, it's got to be consistent with what's been submitted to us. So
Exactly.
they can't come in and change the ball.
No, for sure, for sure.
What would happen, Ms. Johnson, if a developer, a developer's gonna buy it? I already know someone who's pretty committed. If they wanted to make a change, they would have to come back through this process and do an amendment. So it wouldn't be as easy as them, it would be pretty tough for them to do.
On that note, Russ, Tom just pointed out to me that it's not something that I thought of, but until we're sitting here talking about it, the concept plan is not proffered at this point.
She didn't want me to proffer anything.
She didn't want you to proffer anything.
Yeah.
So that would not tie them to this concept plan,
Yeah.
which could potentially result in more curb cuts on Old Graves Mill Road, which is what we were trying to avoid, which, of course, with this plan, you get away from that. However, the plan isn't proffered. So
So if this was rezoned, what would that open the door to?
They could ask to bring the driveway onto Old Graves Mill Road.
where they could have actually,
Could they add,
access management
Wouldn't
would still
they have
apply.
to bring the site plan back then?
Not if it's proffered.
Yeah, no, I apologize on behalf of staff, but if this plan is not proffered,
Yeah.
they could just come in and subdivide it with 75-foot lots, have driveways onto Grays Mill Road. There's no assurance to the commission, council, or the city that it's going to be developed in this manner. It looks great. So I could not in good conscience recommend that you approve this today without a proffer on that plan. And I apologize for planning staff on that, but no, I wouldn't encourage you to do
Let
that.
me ask you a question, Tom.
Yeah.
What if I can get her to write a letter of proffer that she would be substantially compliant with this plan
I think that'd be fine.
before the
I
Board of
think-
Supervisors meeting? I'll do that.
I think it should come back to the commission.
Yeah. Could we line that up as before the next board meeting, or do we have to wait another 30 days? August 10th is the board meeting.
It's a council meeting.
Right,
We
would we have to
this
have
is
a
the-
public hearing?
Would it need to be advertised?
No.
Then it could go to the 28th.
All right. So it could come to the 28th planning commission meeting and still stay on the August.
July 28th?
Well,
Okay.
would that still go to August or?
Yeah, we'll keep it on the same. schedule.
I have a 6-year-old grandson obligation on the 28th.
Is there anyone else who could represent?
I can bring somebody down here, yeah. He's pretty green. He'd be nervous wreck, but
I mean, because at the
I
end of
could
the
get,
day,
I could get one
just,
of my employees to come down here.
yeah, if it, because like I said, I think this plan looks great.
Yeah.
And
Oh, there's a lot
I
of
like,
thought. You can ask Rachel and city staff. I mean, there's a lot of thought put into this.
right,
plan.
and I can tell, I just, you know, if, without there not being a contract on it, and the proffered, needs to be proffered, so.
Okay, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll get in touch with Ms. Gilliland this evening. I will get a proffer in here this week, a letter of proffer. Is that okay, Tom?
Yeah,
her
as long
signature.
as it's
sign.
signed.
I'll make sure she signs it. And then, does it need to be notarized? Or just her, okay. And I'll make sure that happens, okay? But if y'all table it till the 28th, that's fine with me.
Is there a motion?
Well, I just had one concern I just want to bring out there in changing the zoning to allow more duplexes because we're getting away from how this area was originally zoned. And so when I sat there and looked at, okay, we're missing a chunk, we're losing a chunk of traditional housing to duplexes. And so as we going down the road, and we already got 2 more people who would like to do the same thing on down the road, we're gonna lose more and more normal or traditional housing to duplexes. And I don't think that's the way we need to be going, getting more and more duplexes and apartments. We're losing our residential neighborhoods.
I totally agree. I mean, proffer or not, this is not a done deal in my mind. So whether we discuss it now or we discuss it when it comes back, I share those exact same concerns.
And I have those concerns now, and obviously we'll probably have a fuller discussion about this on the 28th, but, you know, I guess what affects my judgment on this is Old Grays Mill Road. I mean, the horse is out of the barn there. I mean, anybody that lives on Old Grays Mill Road, they ain't living in a traditional neighborhood at this point. Now, the off streets that are back off of Grays Mill Road, you know, I think that's another matter. But, you know, when I think about Grays Mill Road 40 years ago, and you look at it now, I mean, it's gone from being sort of a little bit of traditional neighborhood into being basically a drive-through. And so that's why I don't have any particular heartburn, and I'll wait until I hear the rest of people's perspectives on the 28th. But that's why this looked like a pretty good plan to me, especially with this, you know, with the side, you know, with the parking entrance on the side. The house didn't, I'm not making a judgment call, but the house looked like it was just sort of languishing. And I thought, well, you know, I hate to see a single-family residence go, but on the other hand, we're going to get you know, a more upbeat use of the property. But I couldn't agree with you more, Mark. You don't want to see, you know, neighborhood after neighborhood after neighborhood fall. But in my mind, Old Grays Mill Road, that happened a long time ago.
But the thing is, now we're going on the side streets of Old Grays Mill Road. We're just going to expand right up to the expressways. And we're going to lose what's left of traditional neighborhoods.
I agree with you, Tam. I think Old Grays Mill Road has many duplexes currently on there and apartments. It just seems that there are some single-family homes that, you know, I don't think they're as attractive as they were at one point, just because of all of the you know, the multifamily. So, and did you say that it was the part of the fume, though, that it was that this area?
So the city's future land use map, really zoomed out now. So this area is designated low-density residential. However, when you jump up to medium-density residential, so low is up to 4 units per acre, and then medium is up to 12 units per acre. So you could have said, well, why didn't we change the flume in this case, or why didn't we ask Russ to submit a petition that would also change the flume? And I think you have to look at it, you know, longer term when changing the flume, even though it would align maybe better because we are over 4 units in this case. You know, in future zoning petitions, if they wanted to do, you know, a smaller scale apartment building, and the flume says up to 12 units per acre, that's just another reason to kind of do it, because we've already said that up to 12 units per acre would be appropriate in this case. However, the jump from 4 to 12 is pretty big, and this is closer to, I think, 5 or 6 units per acre, if I'm doing my quick math correctly. So that is much closer to the lower density designation that it is now, which is why we didn't encourage them to submit as a medium density residential.
Because it is over an acre and a half, right?
Right.
I agree with that, not changing the flume. I think that's smart.
I think it would open you up for some bigger issues later.
Yeah.
Yeah. You certainly don't want a large apartment complex in there.
Right. So it sounds like we've got some things to talk about on the 28th.
Well, can I throw something out there? The young man I'm going to send here is not going to be, in my opinion, really prepared for that round of discussion. I really would like to get everything out on the table today if we could, because the only thing I'm trying to do now is get that proffered letter to y'all. And whether you vote on it tonight or not, I'd like you to have a good opinion about what we're getting ready to do before I leave here. That's to protect my young man from being totally waylaid when he comes walking in here. So I'm usually the only person that ever handles rezonings in my office, so I don't want him to feel like he's, like I threw him to the wolves, or embarrass him in any way. But we're gonna meet all of this will meet all of the ordinance requirements for this type of rezoning. And that's the important thing. We've met all the setback requirements. And I think really it's just up to you all whether you all want to allow this. Now, by me getting this proffer, which I believe I can convince Ms. Gilliland to do this, that's going to lock this plan in. So the only way they would be able to change it is come back to Tom and them and do a completely, totally replan and come back to you, this commission, and back to the Board of Supervisors for anything else they want to do. That proffer is protecting this plan and making it more concrete.
No, I mean, I can tell you, I wouldn't vote for it if it wasn't proffered in, and it wasn't, the entranceway was not on the side.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to vote
Yeah.
on it tonight,
No, I
but
understand
today,
that.
but I
I
guess we
understand
can continue to discuss it
Right.
if we want to continue to
Is that
hammer
okay,
out.
Tom, for us to still discuss it and then kind of have an idea which way they want to go on the 28th?
Oh, absolutely.
Because I don't
Commission
want
can
to,
discuss it.
I don't want to throw my guy to the wolf when he comes in here.
I mean, I understand you saying that. I think that what the commission is talking about is more of a, I hate to call it a philosophical, but they're kind of talking about a land use issue. If this is your plan and they decide that, duplexes really aren't appropriate in their discussions, I'm not sure what you or he would say that's going to change their mind.
Right, I understand.
And I think that's a lot of, we're good at arguing or debating among ourselves with that. So I don't think it would be throwing a lot at your person. We would actually be doing what we're doing now, debating amongst ourselves. So I don't think that's, I appreciate that concern, but I don't think that's going to be a factor. I mean, my big concern, if you drive down Old Gray's Mill towards the Humane Society, the left side of the road is vastly different from the right side of the road. Completely different. And I'm concerned that the character on the right side, these type of petitions are going to change that. So it's obviously it's not going to be the same as the left side, but it's moving that direction. And so right now the flume reflects those differences in character, and so does the zoning. And as far as I know, there are no duplexes on the right side. It is all single-family homes.
And the people on the right-hand side of the road there that you mentioned about, that is an established neighborhood. That's been long established, and people built there years ago. I know I say this every time something like this comes up. People built a dream. They bought a dream, they built it, they're living there. And now we want to sit there and change the face of that dream to put duplexes or apartments down the stretch there just because, hey, we can make more money on the land. And so the vista that these people had in traditional housing, a traditional neighborhood, no longer exists. And at some point, we have to say, no, we need to have traditional neighborhoods, whether they're 50 years old or 100 years old.
I agree. I do agree with that. One of the things I want to point out, Dave, to the south of our property is R3 zoning. Granted, it is a church, but it's still zoned R3 directly across the street on south of Hillview. And this property that you're looking at was not part of the traditional subdivision when it was created behind it. It was an older tract. The home was built a long time ago, and right now the home is actually in disrepair. And that's one of the issues they have is Mrs. Gilliland does not want to put the money in it. What she wants to do is be able to sell it and allow someone to do what we're proposing here because she doesn't feel like the home is worth saving for her to stay in it any longer. She is elderly. She's not extremely old. I don't want to coin what old is anymore since I'm 51, but
Yeah, be careful.
yeah, I mean, I'm there. I'm on the downhill side of this thing, but I think what we propose to do is actually a pretty good idea for her and her options for this property to sell better.
I do think it's telling that nobody, and again, Mark, I can't agree with you anymore. and we voted along those lines and on issues in the past, but it speaks volumes that nobody's here to speak against this. And
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, I just wonder if anybody on that street cares anymore.
Has anybody called to speak against it?
And that is a sad state. I mean, it was in the paper. I mean,
Yeah.
I saw it, and I rather my wife and I would take more kind of drive because we shouldn't be driving. No, we go this way, so we can go check out the property and take a look at it. Read about it on the paper ahead of time, so I've had ample opportunities to look at it on Google and everything else there and get the packet. It says, changing it is not doing a service for a bunch of people.
I have a couple of points. So, I mean, I know it's much different than Rivermont Avenue, but, Rivermont Avenue, we don't have one side that is developed and one side that's not. I mean, it's pretty, you've got both sides of it that are the same. The other question or the other point is that, the owner doesn't want to put the money into it. And from my point of view as a real estate agent, I just don't see, it's an acre and a half. It's a nice sized lot, but I mean, I wouldn't want to redo that house and live on that road. I mean, and I'm not sure the amount of money that it would take to buy it as well as redo it. I just don't, I'm not sure that the marketability is there because of the other side of the road. I mean, it is what it is, I mean, you're not going to change that. So again, to allow her to have the highest and best use of that property, where the street itself has places very close to it that are similar across the street, right across the street. I don't know. I mean,
I agree with you. And Cham, I think the horses out of the barn, the street has already got so much R3 on it, and that has changed the character of the street. It's also a very busy road and not a quiet residential street. I mean, no more than Rivermont Avenue is certainly a busy road too. Sure. But it's got apartments, it's got apartment buildings. We've had a lot of discussion about that. A lot of people filled up the room arguing about it, but there's nobody here arguing about this one. And I don't think that any of the apartments that we have allowed to go on Rivermont have proved to be detrimental to Rivermont Avenue either. So I would be in favor of it if we got the proffer.
Well, I'll tell you this, I would like to see the proffer. So I will hold back any more comments till the 28th.
okay, thank you. Oh, yeah.
I make a motion to table it.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any other business? If not, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Make a petition to adjourn, just as long as I've said.
Second. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's adjourned.